It's time to sit back, relax, and listen to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life will inspire, motivate, and empower you. Live your best life now. Listen, learn, think, and decide. Change your attitude, change your life. And now, here's your host, Joan Herman.
Welcome to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. I'm Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life brings you interviews with some of the most inspirational and influential people in the world. It's our goal to educate and empower you so you can live your best life now. Thank you for taking time for yourself, and thank you for letting us be a part of your life. We have another great show for you today. In the summer of 2013, family and friends watched helplessly as today's guest, Sarah E. Ball, was abruptly taken captive by a severe anxiety and panic disorder that left her bedridden for months. Those around her were shocked because she had always been a very strong, dependable woman. With time and perseverance, this wife and mother of 5 healed and has since been on a mission to pull the next person out of the pit. Sarah is here today to share the intimate details of her breakdown and recovery and to offer hope to those affected by mental illness. Sarah is the author of Fearless in 21 Days, A Survivor's Guide to Overcoming Anxiety. Welcome, Sarah. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is great.
You know, Sarah, so many people today are suffering from anxiety and depression. But before we get into that part of your story, tell us a little bit about your life before your breakdown.
Well, I think I would be considered to be your typical average woman. I had 5 kids. I just had my 5th baby, and I had a lot of ambitions, a lot of drive, a lot of goals that I wanted to achieve. And then I found myself at home and, tired and exhausted all the time, but really enjoying motherhood. I was getting really involved in church, and I had just graduated from university, so I was kind of like trying to figure out how I could do it all, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And so that's how I would explain my life beforehand. I was a very dependable person, somebody people really relied on for help, very solid in my emotions, never really struggled with anxiety and depression. I really was kind of a suck it up, just keep going kind of person. Mm-hmm. Persevered through a lot of hardship in my younger years, and that kind of attitude really kept me strong and going. But I think that it caught up with me eventually. And then I found myself really tired and started getting really tired, and I just could not bounce back. So that was kind of the beginning of that.
And so you noticed that you were tired, and from that point, was it a slow progression of minor attacks that built up over time, or was it something major that appeared to hit you all at once? And the reason I ask that, after I had my second son, one night when I was watching television, I felt like something was stuck in my throat, and I felt like I couldn't swallow. And from that moment, it seems to me, obviously something was going on with me before that I missed, but from that moment, I literally developed a fear of swallowing, and I couldn't get anything down, and I went from doctor to doctor, and I became a very nervous person, and so I referred to that as my breakdown. I lost 50 pounds, and it was really a progression of healing. So did something like that occur for you, or was it a much slower progression?
It was very much like that. Now, I had a panic attack before during stressful situations. So I'd had a son who was on life support when he was a baby, and my mom had a stroke, and I kind of, through that stressful season, had a panic attack, but I was able to kind of get back on my feet really quickly and just say that was a bad moment. And so this morning I had been feeling really tired and exhausted, and also like emotionally really discontented. Right. And you could say depressed, like just frustrated with my life and never happy, and just feeling really discouraged and really worn down. And so this one day I woke up in the morning and I hit the treadmill, because trying to look perfect too was also a part of that category of trying to, outdo everybody. And so I hit the treadmill early in the morning, and my heart started racing, which is normal when you're running, but it just felt odd. And I got off and I thought, oh, this seems to be racing really extremely. And then it wouldn't calm down. I started walking around, it wouldn't calm down. And sure enough, it just escalated into this, oh my goodness, I think I'm going to die. Like, it's not calming down. And so I ended up calling 911. And I originally told myself, you're fine. Like, I was kind of went into it with a calm state, like, you're fine, it'll be okay. But as it just escalated, I started shaking, my chest started hurting, and I thought, my goodness, I'm having a heart attack. And so I phoned 911, and they came and checked me out and basically said, there's nothing wrong with you. And they said, have you been under a lot of stress? And I had been. We'd had a lot going on at that time, a lot of crisis, a lot of people depending on us to help them through that crisis. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to go to bed, and I'll feel better in the morning. Like, I had enough resolve to say, you just need some rest, and you'll feel better. But then when I woke up in the morning, I started having another panic attack, and then another one, and another one. Like, what if there was something really wrong with me? What if they weren't right, and I am having problems with my heart? Or, like, my mind just started taking me there, just like your fear of swallowing. And then it escalated from there. I started having panic attacks like every hour, I think, over the next few months. So yes, it was one specific incident that really started, like, just kind of opened the floodgates.
And it started that fear cycle, which kept feeding the anxiety, the attacks.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And, I've had panic attacks before and been like, okay, that was a panic attack. I'm obviously really stressed. To this one, which seems so different and so much more intense and so much more uncontrollable, it really rattled me, because the crisis that I was dealing with was there was people dying and random people, like, just getting sick. And it just seemed like everyone around me was somehow going through some medical crises. So, of course, when I'm trying to hold everything together, and then all of a sudden I have sort of this panic attack, well, of course, it's my turn next. It's kind of what I told myself. So then, I became so terrified.
So, Sarah, what did you do to break free from that cycle?
Well, I mean, it was a really long process. I'm thankful for the process now, because I think that I'm a lot stronger than I was before. My coping skills are stronger. The tools that I have to keep stress to never get that high to that breaking point again. So that's been a gift. But for me, I had to deal with the panic attack first, because the panic attack is like dealing with a situation where you feel like you're going to die. It's like you're being attacked by a bear or something, like you're fighting for your life in that moment. And how do you do any inner healing when you're dealing with that kind of stuff all the time? Like, it's exhausting. You can't, because you're just in the moment trying to survive a panic attack. So I really had to deal with the panic attack first. And the way that I actually learned to do it was to face, because he said it's a cycle of fear versus fear. So it was learning not to fear the fear. And so I really had to, like, stop and acknowledge the symptoms I was feeling. Like you said, the tight throat, like I felt like I couldn't swallow, the heavy chest, the racing heart, like all those symptoms that come that are so intense. And I had to learn to say, okay, you can come and you can rise and you can get stronger. And I just sit there in those awful physical symptoms and let them kind of go through my body and just accept it and wait it out, instead of trying to do everything I could to say, oh no, here comes one, let's breathe, let's walk, let's distract myself, let's whatever. I actually had to learn to stand and just face it. And so I was able to get rid of panic attacks quite quickly after I started doing that. Within a few days, I was able to get that under control and not be afraid of those panic attack symptoms. But then I had to deal with the issue of just general anxiety at that point.
Right. And I did the same thing. It's interesting because I literally would sit down and say, all right, come and get me.
Yeah.
And I would just relax into it rather than fight it. And something I want to just say, because I think this is important, what we're discussing, we're not saying that you should not get medical attention if it's something that you're experiencing, but what we're trying to provide are some strategies, as you said, to help manage those attacks on our own. But medical attention is always the first thing that you should do in a situation like that.
Absolutely, because there are some medical underlying things that can cause panic and anxiety, so there are some things that you can get checked out by your doctor that can really help you with that. That is more of a physical thing, so really important that you do that for sure.
So, Sarah, in addition to, relaxing into it, come and get me, letting it go and releasing strategy, what else do you offer that can help people to manage anxiety on their own?
Well, I think there's a few things. Number one is rest became a weapon for me. And that was something that was really important for me that I wasn't very good at. And first of all, because my life wasn't really set up for me to live a restful lifestyle.
Right.
I had 5 young kids and busy. And so I had to learn to really guard my rest and really defend it. And so another thing, too, is saying yes to everything. Like, yes, sure, I can do that. And really recognizing what my motives were behind the reason why I felt like I had to burn myself out. And one of them that I discovered was just a desire to be accepted through being perfect or being available to everybody all the time. Like, to me, setting boundaries for myself and saying no and guarding my rest felt selfish, and it felt like I would be rejected because of it and judged because of it. So that was stuff that I kind of had to work through, and so rest was really, really important. And exercise is so important. And I had to walk for my mental health, whereas before I was walking for my physical health, and I had to take walks every single day to help burn off that anxious energy. And then the other point that I have, too, was that we work so hard to suck it up and move on and move forward. And I feel like anytime we go through trauma or pain or, difficult experiences and we don't necessarily deal with it and acknowledge that it's there and work through it, then where does it go? Like, where does that trauma go? Where does that stress go? I feel like it just compounds in ourselves and eventually comes out in the form of mental health and anxiety and depression. And so I had to learn to really dig a little bit deeper into those places in my life that were causing me a lot of insecurity, that were really triggering my anxiety, fears that I had, and thoughts of myself. And so it was really important to learn how to grieve some of the things in my past. And so I went through a series of just finding healing through grieving. And then my faith played a big part in it because it just gave me this stability to be able to trust something outside of myself, because when you're struggling with anxiety, there's lots of evidence around you to say that everything is unstable and could fall at any moment. And so to have that faith that says, I'm anchored no matter what, really helped me through that season too. So I'm really strong on it being a body, mind, and spirit healing, that if you don't take care of one aspect, then the other one will begin to become weaker. And so if you're not taking care of your physical health, your spiritual health, then your mental health suffers. If you're not taking care of your mental health and your spiritual health, then your physical health suffers. So I really feel that there's a big connection between the three. So when it came to recovery, it was really important that I was really focusing on all three aspects of myself.
Sarah, from your experience, how important is the role of family support in healing?
Huge. I mean, they say that more effective than any antidepressant or anxiety medication is, number one, exercise, and number two, community. And so those are the two combinations. And the thing is that anxiety and depression force you into isolation. But isolation only increases depression and anxiety, because who wants to be left alone in the room with your thoughts that aren't healthy? Right? Mm-hmm. And so if that's the only influence that you have in a day is your own mind, because you're alone all the time, it's not a healthy place to be. And so for me, finding the right support was hard, because you get a lot of like, well, why can't you just stop thinking about it and just get over it? And people, when people change, other people really react in a strange way, because they're used to this dance of I do this and you do that and I say this and this is how you respond. So for me, being someone who was really strong and the person that people would come and just sit there and cry on your lap for an hour and then leave without even asking you how your day was, that was kind of the person I was. And then all of a sudden I was so needy and could not handle anybody else's crisis. Like, I just couldn't emotionally. Mm-hmm. And so it switched. And all of a sudden I was really needing people to just listen and be there with me. And so I lost some friendships in that time. There were some friendships that I really had to cut off and say, I'm sorry, but I just cannot be with you right now. You're not helping me. But I had to learn to just tell people what it is I needed to hear and how they could have helped me. And then my husband was just, he's naturally very loving and patient, but so hard on our spouses and our loved ones to help those who are going through mental crises. But he was very loving to help guard my rest and help me talk through some of the crazy thoughts that I was having, and take me to the doctors and encourage me to get out for walks and stuff like that. So really, really important to surround yourself with safe people. You might have to do a little bit of juggling and cleaning house, so to speak, with the people in your life when you're trying to recover from mental illness.
The book is Fearless in 21 Days by Sarah Ball. If you would like to get more information about Sarah and her work, you can visit her website, saraheball.com. That's Sarah with an H, saraheball.com. Sarah, in our final moments, what's the takeaway? What would you like to leave our listeners with?
I think that, one of the first emotions that you're hit with when you start struggling with anxiety and depression is, what is wrong with me? What's going on? What's wrong with me? And I think I would just say that, you were perfectly and wonderfully made, and that so many people go through this process of sort of having a bit of a breakdown, but there is a gift at the end of it. And so it's not about, trying to run away from it, but it's having the courage to walk through it and find yourself a lot stronger and healthier once you get through to the other side. So there's hope for those who are struggling.
Sarah, thank you so much for spending time with us and sharing your story, and for offering hope. As you said, if we walk through it, there are some wonderful gifts, even though we may not see them at the time, but they are there. So thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
This is Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thank you for joining us. I hope you found the show informative. At Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life, we believe that knowledge is power. Take what you've learned, apply it, and live your best life now. Remember that the information provided are the opinions of our guests and should never replace the advice of a professional who knows your personal situation. If you'd like more information, visit our website, cyacyl.com. While on the site, listen to past shows on demand, read our digital magazine, take part in the book club, check out our team, and be sure to follow the show on social media. Until next time, this is Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in.